All eyes are on whether some sort of ceasefire can be reached, and all allies in the region are being engaged when it comes to those talks. Well, our chief international correspondent, Lyse Doucet, has been speaking to Jordan's foreign minister, and she asked him if Washington's reaction to the killing of those aid workers this week could spell a turning point in the ongoing conflict.
Let's hope it is, Lyse, because for the past 6 months, we've seen nothing but an Israeli government that is defying the will of the whole international community, proceeding with a massacre that have produced nothing but death and suffering and destruction to the Palestinians. 6 months into this massacre, the world has to act more assertively to ensure that Israel complies with international law, international humanitarian law, not only stop killing Palestinians through this war, but also stop the starvation, which is claiming more lives day in, day out. So it is way past time that Israel is held responsible for what it has done and stop this massacre, and allow all of us then to come together and see how we can get beyond this misery and work towards a future that will ensure peace and security for Palestinians and Israelis.
Israel has announced new steps to get desperately needed aid into Gaza, including opening a northern crossing, an Israeli port, and expanding the capacity through Jordan. Will that make a difference?
We've heard those promises before. We'll believe them when we see them. Thus far, in the last 6 months, only an average of 100 trucks a day have entered Gaza, compared to what the UN estimated was 800 trucks needed on a daily basis. So the amount of humanitarian aid entering into Gaza is completely insignificant as of yet. We'll wait and see if Israel really does take any action to allow more aid in, and also to allow humanitarian agencies into Gaza, because without the UN being there in charge of those operations, without NGOs being able to work, without the threat of being bombed and killed, the issue of distribution will also be a major problem. So what's needed now is opening all land crossings into Gaza and allowing the UN and other NGOs full access and full ability to receive the aid and to distribute the aid.
There's a growing debate in Britain, in the United States, about whether arms sales to Israel should be suspended. Is that a move that you and your Arab colleagues would welcome?
The reality is, for the past 6 months, Israel has ignored every call by all members of the international community to do what's right and stop violating international law and stop this war. We've seen UN Security Council resolutions. We've seen 2 sets of provisional measures by the ICJ, and Israel has done nothing. So I think it is time Israel faced consequences, and real consequences, for what this government is doing. Israel has not listened. Now the Israeli government has to face consequences of its actions, and instead of sending weapons to Israel, I think the world should be sending aid and should be sending political delegations to make sure that we get over this catastrophe. So yes, we do support ending arms sales to Israel, among other sanctions.
It must be tough being an Arab foreign minister. You're shouting as loudly as possible, including to your friends, the United States. It doesn't seem to be having much impact. Pressure's growing on your own street, saying you're not doing enough.
Absolutely. The whole world is not doing enough. That is the perception, and that's the belief, and that's the reality. The fact is, we have an Israeli government dominated by radical racist extremists who are defying the will of the whole international community, who are killing with impunity, who are starving people, using food as a weapon. And despite many calls by all members of the international community, almost, including friends and support of Israel, this Israeli government has not listened. So yes, it is frustrating. People are outraged. We are outraged. And I think the anger that you referred to, demonstrated by people on the streets of Jordan, is an anger that represents not just all of Jordan. It represents a growing number of people across the world. So yes, there is tremendous anger and tremendous frustration, not just with what Israel is doing, but also with the inability of the international community to impose an international law and to have this Israeli government stop the massacre that it is allowing or leading or enabling in Gaza.
And in one word, are you now more hopeful that the end of this war will be coming soon?
Unfortunately, no. You hear statements coming from the Israeli government. They're talking now about a ground invasion into Rafah, despite, again, warnings by the US, Europe, everybody. The rhetoric coming from Israeli politicians is still saying that they're going to go in. And if they go into Rafah, that will be another massacre. And that should not be allowed to happen. So now we are at a point where do we allow an Israeli government dominated by radicals to continue with this massacre and determine and doom the future of the region to more conflict and suffering? Or does the international community take the necessary action to stop that and impose compliance with international law?
Thank you, Mr. Safadi.
Well, that was our chief international correspondent, Lyse Doucet, who was speaking to the Jordanian Foreign Minister, Ayman Safadi.